This week on The Watchman, Israel uncovers a network of terror tunnels dug by Hezbollah. As tensions flare up north, we head to the Israel-Lebanon border for a closer look at where the world's most dangerous terrorist organization is planning its next attack.
They're not just associated. They're not just a proxy. They are a wholly owned subsidiary of Iran. You can see Iranian flags on the border on the other side in Lebanon.
Plus, he's won a Heisman Trophy and an NFL playoff game. He's even taken minor league baseball by storm. But Tim Tebow had never visited Israel until now. He joins us in Jerusalem to share his experiences in the Holy Land.
Getting the chance to come to Israel and experience where Jesus was and the disciples, and be able to bring all the stories that we've talked about and we've looked at and we've researched and I've heard my whole life, and now getting to piece them together that much more, it's incredible.
It's The Watchman. It's Christians United for Israel only on TBN. And welcome to The Watchman. The Israel Defense Forces say that Operation Northern Shield has come to an end. Now, the operation, which aimed to locate and destroy Hezbollah terror tunnels dug along the Israel-Lebanon border, began in late 2018. And it was a big success. The IDF uncovered 6 cross-border tunnels that penetrated from southern Lebanon into Israeli territory, including near Metula, where we visited here on the show. Some of these tunnels were advanced. One even included electricity and a rail system to move equipment. The goal here for Hezbollah was to use these tunnels to move ground fighters into Israeli territory for a surprise attack in a future war. Remember, Hezbollah's leader, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, has talked openly about conquering the Galilee. Folks, Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy and a crucial component in Iran's plan to destroy Israel. So, as tensions rise up north, we're heading to the Israel-Lebanon border with our good friend, Elliot Chodoff. Elliot is a top military and strategic analyst. He's also a veteran of the Israel Defense Forces and still serves today as a major in the IDF reserves. He described why the next Middle East war may just be sparked by Hezbollah. Here's part 1 of our interview. Well, Elliot, where we are standing right now looks very peaceful, tranquil even.
Absolutely.
But just over the horizon lives and breathes the world's most dangerous terrorist organization. Not even an organization, a terrorist army. Where are we right now?
Okay, we're on the lower slopes of the Golan, facing west. We have the Hula Valley below us, and if I can correct you, not over the horizon, but before the horizon is Hezbollah land.
Lebanon.
Lebanon.
Southern Lebanon, to be precise.
Correct. From here, we're seeing part of South Lebanon, but even into a little bit further. And again, I think makes your point of how close everything is, how tight everything is here. Beyond the ridge, across from us, the ridge itself is Israeli, but just over the ridge again, Lebanon, all the way to the Mediterranean coast.
Yeah. Folks, if you live in Texas, imagine a powerful terrorist organization right over the border in Mexico. Or if you live in Minnesota, a powerful terror organization staring you down across the border from Canada. This is the equivalent.
Except in Texas, you could be much, much, much further away than we are here.
True.
From the Mexican border than we are. Then our furthest point is from the Lebanese border.
Yeah.
It's a whole different sense of scale.
That's true.
I think you described them very well, a terrorist army. Hezbollah, this idea of terrorist organizations is somewhat passé.
Yeah.
Not because they're not terrorists, but it doesn't fully depict ISIS at its strength, the Taliban, Hamas in Gaza, and certainly Hezbollah here, and there are other examples around the world of groups that have gone from, I'll call it classical terrorism, of blowing up buses, for example, to military terrorism. And Hezbollah, again, possibly the best example, organized in platoons and companies and battalions.
Like an army.
An army.
Elliot, with what you're describing, it sounds like Hezbollah is better equipped than most militaries, most armies in the Middle East.
In many ways it is. In terms of rocket capability, it's on a par with any country in NATO other than the United States of America.
What does that mean? What do those numbers, estimated numbers, look like in terms of?
The official estimate is about 100,000 rockets. My estimate is closer to 250,000 rockets. And the truth is, it doesn't matter all that much. It's probably somewhere in between. 250,000 rockets.
Right. Here in Lebanon.
South Lebanon.
Pointed at every inch of Israel, which is the size of the state of New Jersey.
Correct. They can reach every municipality in Israel except for a lot at the extreme southern tip of the country. Everybody else is in range. They have range, they have capabilities of accuracy that they never had before, load capability in terms of explosives, far beyond anything they've ever had before.
When you say far beyond anything they had before, there was a major conflict here just in 2006, 12 years ago.
Right. They started that one with 20,000 rockets. The Air Force took out a good number of them early on, but we were hit with 4,000 over a 5-week period.
In Kiryat Shimona?
In Kiryat Shimona, this area was rocketed constantly.
Right where we're standing.
But as far south as Haifa. They aimed for even further south, we intercepted some, but essentially 4,000 over 5 weeks. Today their plan is to fire about 2,000 a day, which is a whole different scale.
For months on end if they can.
Well, their plan, like everybody else, they're planning based on their last experience, which was 5 weeks.
In 2006, by the way, real quick, Elliot, Israelis were in bomb shelters. People had to evacuate in places like Kiryat Shimona. Israeli civilians were killed in those rocket barrages from Hezbollah.
Not large numbers, because for the most part people followed instructions. Let's put it this way, 2 million people's lives were utterly disrupted for that 5-week period.
In a tiny country like Israel, that's a big deal.
There's an interesting paradox here. When terrorists are blowing up buses, and this is not a comparison of good and bad or better or worse, just different. When people are blowing up buses, there's no correct behavior for yourself, okay? You don't get on the bus, so you're standing next to the bus, you're still in danger. When rockets are being fired, there is correct safety behavior of listening to sirens, getting under cover, going into shelters, and so on and so forth. So in a paradoxical way, the rockets disrupt many more people's lives simply by the fact that they can be protected against. They have a much greater impact, even if their ultimate lethal capability, or their lethal outcome, because the capability is there, is possibly less. The Hezbollah, the 06 war, was really just the round, and I won't even say the last round because we've had stuff going on with them since, that really goes back to the 1980s. And this is Iran's first real move into the Middle East. And I think a lot of people don't realize that Iran's problem in its imperial designs is that Iran is not an Arab country, it's Persia. That's right. The Arabs and Persians have traditionally been enemies. Right. And the Iranians played their Shiite Muslim identity card, if you will, to be able to interact with the Arab Shiites and get past the Persian-Arab, sort of call it the divide.
And focus on that Shiite brotherhood.
Up until Khomeini came to power in '79, the Shiite world was very decentralized in its religious authority. In other words, the community leader, the community imam, sheikh, whatever, was the leader. When Khomeini came to power, he changed that. And he argued that once there's an Islamic Shiite state, the supreme leader of the Shiite state is the supreme leader of the Shiites. Wow. Now, not everybody bought into that. However, the guys who were sent to run Hezbollah were Lebanese Shiite clerics who had studied under Khomeini personally. So if you will, they got their ordination, for lack of a better term, from Khomeini. Their Nasrallah, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah,
The leader of Hezbollah today.
Leader of Hezbollah, is beholden to the supreme leader Khamenei religiously, not just politically. So they're not just associated. They're not just a proxy. They are a wholly owned subsidiary of Iran.
Wow, so what you're saying, Elliot, is Hezbollah was started by Iran, funded by Iran. Hezbollah, trained, organized, everything. So Hezbollah here in southern Lebanon at Israel's doorstep is a virtual arm of the Iranian regime.
I wouldn't even say virtual. It's an arm of the regime. You can see Iranian flags on the border on the other side in Lebanon. This is the real Iranian deal. That has consequences. One of them is that increasingly, as Hezbollah has become a more effective military force, it's come under much greater control by Iran. Iran has invested much more into it, human, financial, etc. They're relying much more heavily on them. There are, I think, very reliable reports that the Hezbollah were involved in putting down the riots in Iran.
Wow.
To say nothing of their involvement in Syria and the civil war on behalf of Iran. In other words, here we're talking about agents.
Yeah.
Because of the heavy investment, Iran is not going to waste Hezbollah. Now they're investing, they're contributing, and I'll make a distinction, to Hamas. They're supplying Hamas, but it's not an investment. They'll waste Hamas.
Iran can, yeah.
And I always say the Iranians will fight to the last drop of Palestinian blood. No problem. Hezbollah, they will use, but not waste.
Yeah. Real quick, wanted to ask you, how many foot soldiers do we think Hezbollah has? We know about the rocket capabilities. Foot soldiers, tens of thousands. A lot of blood expended in Syria, by the way.
Some 60,000 in Lebanon. There are reserves that may be more than that, but let's say 60,000 is a round number. That's 5 infantry divisions.
Wow.
Okay. That's power.
This is a serious threat.
They don't have an armor capability. They don't have an air force capability. But in terms of a ground combat capability, especially for mountain, forest, village country, they're quite capable.
Thanks again to Elliot Chodoff for joining us and sharing his top-notch analysis. Elliot will be back with us on the Israel-Lebanon border next week for part 2 of our interview on the growing Hezbollah threat. You won't want to miss that. Well, up next, a Palestinian American shares what's really holding the Palestinian people back. Hint, it's not Israel. And later, Tim Tebow joins us in Jerusalem. Don't move. Hey everyone, Erick Stakelbeck here. I want you to join me in Washington, D.C. this July for the premier pro-Israel event in the United States. The 14th annual CUFI Washington Summit will be held on July 7th, 8th, and 9th at the D.C. Convention Center, and it will be our biggest and best yet. Thousands of pro-Israel Christians will join together and lift their voices in the nation's capital for Zion's sake. CUFI's founder and chairman, the one and only Pastor John Hagee, will be there. He'll be joined by the U.S. Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, and many other very special guests. But most importantly, attending CUFI's Washington Summit gives you the chance to personally deliver a strong pro-Israel message to your members of Congress. I'll be in D.C. this summer, and I hope you'll be there too to raise your voice for Israel for such a time as this. And welcome back. We're often told that Israel is the cause of all Palestinian problems. But what if Palestinian leaders are the real problem? One courageous Palestinian American named Hazem Faraj shared his thoughts with CUFI's Israel Collective about the real plight of the Palestinians. And it's not the same old blame Israel message. Take a look.
The truth is, we need to be loved with truth, and we don't need to be loved with what's politically expedient. Every people has had a crisis. Every people has had a disaster. But not every people camp there, and not every people creates their identity around that. So as a Palestinian, I have dreams and I have hopes and I have desires. Why is the Palestinian Authority giving $5 million a month to families of terrorists? Do you know what I could do with $5 million a month? So they'll name streets after people who have killed themselves. They'll give money to the suicide families. Why? Because they want to stay in power. We need to stop acting like all these people who support terrorism are leaders and diplomats. They're not. They are making money off of the Palestinians because they know the UN is throwing all this money. Every country is throwing money to the Palestinians, and you get to the streets and the streets are broken. The schools are. Where is the money? And the irony of this whole thing is all of the people who say they're for Palestinians are actually exploiting Palestinians. In fact, for the people who are anti-Israel, you're actually also harming the Palestinians because it's all a complicated web. The BDS situation, you're actually hurting the Palestinians because the Palestinians are employed by the Israelis. And if you're not willing to criticize the terrorists who are sending the people into a failing battle, then you're part of the issue too. I appreciate the support for the Palestinians, but what you're actually doing is you're enabling terrorism. I would say to every young, hopeful Palestinian that you are not crazy, you are not alone, you are actually one of millions of us who are not happy with the status quo. We don't want the label refugee, we don't want the wars of our fathers, we just want to be given a chance. And me and you are worth that chance. And you have to commit to being different from what society says. And when they try to brainwash you, and when they try to tell you what to believe, it's not their responsibility, it's yours to make up your own decision and make up your own opinion. And that's what I would encourage every Palestinian to do, is have the guts to be different.
That's powerful stuff. Folks, you see the website there. Be sure to check out more great short films like that one from our Kufi Israel Collective. Well, coming up, Tim Tebow joins us on our TBN Jerusalem set to talk about his very first visit to Israel. And it was a memorable one. Stick around.
Israel faces growing threats on all sides. Hezbollah, ISIS, Iran, and Hamas never cease their attacks. But God has raised Kufi up at this moment in history to stand between Israel and those who seek to destroy the Jewish state.
Israel's enemies are on the move. As dark clouds gather on the horizon, tell the world you proudly stand with Israel. Be a courageous voice for biblical unity and moral clarity when you join Christians United for Israel. Show your love for the people of Zion with this beautiful symbol of unending support for Israel.
Wear the pen and join Kufi, a movement of over 5 million defenders of Israel. Call the number on your screen or visit kufi.org/pen to receive your pen that will show your proud support for the special bond between Israel and America.
And welcome back. During his incredible run in college football, the NFL, and now minor league baseball, and as a commentator, Tim Tebow has boldly and publicly professed his strong Christian faith. But until recently, he'd never had the chance to actually walk where Jesus walked. Well, you can now add that one to the list. Tim joined us in our TBN Jerusalem studio recently and shared some of his experiences from his first visit to Israel. Take a look.
To be able to come to this area, to be able to make the Bible come to life even more, and all the stories that we've read and we've talked about and we've researched and we've looked at, my entire life, and as a family, to be able to actually get to see those areas and touch them and walk where Jesus walked and be able to see where they lived and where the disciples and where this was preached and this happened. I mean, it just brings the Bible to life, and it's incredible. First thing we did is we went to Caesarea, and we were walking around what they believe Herod's palace where it would have been, and I was thinking to myself, where exactly was it when Herod decided, okay, we're going to kill all of the babies because we want to get rid of whoever this next king's going to be? And what came over him when he made that decision? And then we went from there. We've been all over the country the last few days, and we still got a lot more to see, but everything has been incredible. Right before we came here, we were just down the road at the Garden of Gethsemane, and we were praying as a family together, and just to think, a couple thousand years ago, what Jesus was facing in that moment and what he was praying for, and what he was able to overcome for us because he loved us so much, and the choice he made for us. It was incredibly powerful and kind of surreal. One of the things is yesterday when we were in Getty and reading the passages about David cutting King Saul's robe, and you could really tell once we climbed all the way back into those caves in the mountain, you could see how that could happen, and how David could be hiding, and it was just incredible how much that came to life of, oh my gosh, he could be back in one of these caves, and he could be hiding and fleeing for his life. And then he cuts Saul's robe and he shows it to Saul, and that picture was incredible. Being able to be here in Israel has been amazing because I've been able to be with my family, and we've been able to pray together, to read the Bible together, to be able to talk. I've been able to ask my family members questions. Okay, what was the lineage here, and then what happened here, and just learn and grow and be able to really visualize it and take those pieces and really try to understand the Bible as a whole just that much better. For me, I've been a believer for a long time, but this is just something that brings it that much more to life, where you can really visualize it and you can see it and you can understand, wow, Jesus was walking on this road, or this is where he lived with Peter, or this is where we got to see, where he performed a miracle and we get to stand on those exact places. This is where Jesus was praying and we get to pray in that place, and just really special. I think coming to Israel has been an incredible experience, and it's something I'm very grateful to do. I think it made it that much more special being able to do it with my family. I would encourage people to do it because I think it brings the Bible to life. I think it's also important to understand what you're looking at, what you're going through, and so I think the guide that you have and the pastors that you have are incredibly important as well. And being able to do the research before you come, deciding what we put our faith in and who we put our faith in, is the most important decision that we'll ever make in our life. And if this is something that people can come to, and they can see what Jesus did, and they can see where he lived, and they can see the decisions that he chose for us because he loved us so much, why would you not want to make that choice to come here and see that and be a part of it, if it can be something that can be confirming for you and encouraging for you, and you can walk away a different person, being more inspired to live out your faith every day.
Thanks again to Tim Tebow for joining us in Jerusalem. Well, Tim had a legendary football career, and up next, we speak to another football star who's sharing his love for Israel on the fields of the NFL. That's after the break. Stick around.
Every year, the Christians United for Israel Washington Summit gets bigger, better, and more powerful.
I have faith that with God's help, and with the men and women gathered here, with all those who cherish Israel, and with President Donald Trump in the White House, the best days for Israel and for America together are yet to come.
What's amazing about Christians United for Israel is not just the power of your voice, it's also the importance of the cause you have dedicated your voice to. Standing up against this global pressure campaign on Israel and the Jewish people goes to the heart of our friendship and the heart of America. And the tip of the spear is Christians United for Israel.
Join Pastor Hagee and top leaders from Israel and America this July for the 2019 CUFI Washington Summit. Register now at www.cufi.org/summit.
Welcome back. Michael Pierce plays defensive tackle for the NFL's Baltimore Ravens. He's also a strong Christian who lives out his faith. Michael was so impacted by his visit to Israel with Kufai's Israel Collective that he wanted to do something special to show his appreciation. What he did was pretty incredible. Take a look.
My name is Michael Pierce. I play defensive tackle for the Baltimore Ravens. The My Cause, My Cleats is a yearly thing that the NFL does to bring awareness to different organizations and causes that people have been affected by. My Cause is the Israel Collective group and the things they've done for me. Israel Collective has been a life-changing thing for me. Having the Israel flag in front and center was paramount for me. I needed that to be right where it is. My favorite part of the logo is the IC. The message for me is just the oneness and the connectedness I feel with that land. Growing up reading the Bible, hearing Bible stories, and learn exactly where Jesus walked was awesome. To go over there and see the difference and to see just exactly how the culture is. Went to Shabbat dinner. I just enjoyed their company and learned so many different customs and things that they do that I've just never been aware of. How warm people are is definitely something that I hope that people will read about and then maybe go over, and if they're able, of course, and to be able to see exactly what's going on. To learn more about Israel Collective, please go to israelcollective.org. Go to YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe to their page. God bless.
Now, I'm a Philly Eagles fan, as you might know, but I have to admit, I will also now be rooting for Michael Pierce. You see the information there on your screen, so join our movement here at Kufi, and may the Lord bless you from Zion. May you see the good of Jerusalem all the days of your life. Remember, we've got part 2 with Elliot Chodoff from the Israel-Lebanon border next week. Don't miss it. Until then, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.